I'm going to show you consistently how I am changing engineering by myself. Once you see something that resonates like that with you, you can't unsee it.
Just connect with your own humanity, right? Be real with yourself.
Yes.
Welcome back to I Can Fit That In, the show where we redefine what it means to lead, live, and work with intention. Today's guest is someone who's not only passionate about great leadership, she's helping reshape what manager excellence looks like in today's world of work. Stefani Okamoto brings over 2 decades of experience leading with clarity, care, and impact. As the Director of Manager Excellence at the Fortune 300 company ServiceNow, Stefani is on a mission to elevate what it means to be a manager, from vague expectations and burnout to empowered leadership rooted in skill, presence, and human connection. With 23 plus years of synthesizing the complex into meaningful transformation, Stefani has a gift for creating systems that truly support people, not just performance metrics. She's a strategic thinker, a purpose-driven leader, and someone who deeply believes that when managers are equipped to lead with clarity and care, everyone thrives. I couldn't agree more. In this episode, we explore what it takes to support the people who support the people, your managers. We talk about role clarity, skill development, and why genuine care must be at the heart of effective leadership, especially in a fast-paced, evolving world and workplace. If you care about culture, leadership, and making work more human, this one is for you. So let's get into it. Stefani, welcome.
Thank you, Erin. I'm so excited to be here. I've appreciated you for so long and so many reasons, and I'm so excited for this podcast and just to be able to have a chance to talk to you.
Oh, well, me too. And I know it's, we got to meet via, Craig initially beginning this connection and relationship. And it's clear that we have so many common belief systems and ways of being and leading and showing up in the world. So I too am very excited for everyone to get to listen to your story and to learn from this conversation today. Yeah. So tell me, I would love to start at just who is Steph, and a little bit about not just the career, but the personal side of you. Who are you and how did you get to where you are today?
Feels like a loaded question, and it could take me forever to answer that because my life has kind of taken a zigzag pattern, not the straight approach that a lot of careers can and have taken. Mine starts in a small town where I grew up in Washington State, and I played competitive sports. I played third base for a fast pitch softball team. I played on a state championship volleyball team, and sports were always the thing, and athletics was always the thing that kept me organized in being a great student. And early on, when I was young, I knew that, in appreciation for growing up in a small town and all that it gives, that wasn't my place, and I knew that, and I just knew that getting an education and working hard and persevering was going to be my path out and beyond into a different way of life outside of that small town and what it offered. And so very competitive sports brought me a scholarship to a community college that I played volleyball at and was paid for so that I could pay my way through college. We didn't have a lot growing up. And so I knew if I was going to get an education from at the collegiate level, that was going to be on me. And so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to go to a 4-year college right out of high school and afford it. So I took the 2-year route and paid for the fundamentals of what you have to do at an undergrad anyway, right, at a less expense, and then transferred to University of Washington and graduated there with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. So I worked the whole time that I was going to school because I had one goal, and it was to get my education and to get a degree and be the first in my family to be able to graduate from college. And so that's kind of where it started. And that grit and resilience that comes with all of that, because that was not easy, kind of has catapulted me into a career that's taken a few different twists and turns, but that I'm very proud of. So that's the early me. If you want me to continue, then
that's beautiful in so many ways. And I know you and I connect so much on that grit and resilience and not growing up with much and really having to chart your own course
Yeah.
and doing so from a place of, at the time, you don't understand that it's your intuition driving you, but it really
Mhm.
is. It's your soul driving you forward and saying, hey,
Yeah.
this is for you. This is possible. You just have to believe it's possible. And so the million and one ways that you can make that happen, you just figure it out, right? And you start to
Yeah.
just make a move and then make the next one and make the next one.
That's
And then all of a
that's
sudden you're where
exactly.
you are.
I know. And
Yeah.
you look back, and there's so many times I look back and think, how did I do that? Like, and I know, all of us probably do that. But when you're in it and you're determined to get to where you want to go and see a different place for yourself, however you get there, it's so rewarding. When I went to college, I took my typewriter with me. Like,
Yeah.
it was not the age of cell phones. It was the age of the Dewey Decimal System and card
Right.
catalog in the library. Like, it was that added the complexity of how hard it
Yeah.
was. And I think I just took that and carried that with me as then I was, graduated. And then I thought I'm going to go, that my path was going to be honest, I wanted to be, I kind of wanted to go into the FBI and go into like the forensics kind of thinking and
Yeah.
deviant behavior and all of that. That was really intriguing to me to understand how people are who they are and why some shifted a different direction that was for the not good. And I wanted to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly after I graduated from college, I got a job at Microsoft. And so I, kind of all of the going back and getting your master's in social work kind of went out the window, because once you are at a place like Microsoft, it's hard to go back. And
Yeah.
I built a career at Microsoft of 23 years that I'm so proud of, because it's a very challenging, rewarding, amazing place to work.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that grit and resilience, I had to take that with me every single day, because it's not a place you can just sit back and vest
Right.
and rest your stock like most some other places that you can. You had to continue to perform and push forward.
Right, right. And I imagine, you have such experience, obviously, with creating and rolling out programs for leadership and management at scale.
Yeah.
Microsoft, ServiceNow, this is not a small feat, right? So when you were moving through a lot of those experiences in your corporate career to date, what would you say is one of the biggest mindset shifts that has really helped you persevere and stay committed to not only obviously to doing the work, that's kind of a given, that's the stuff that people can push through, but to filling yourself up and wanting to be there and to bringing your best to it?
I think it's a great question, Erin, because I think it's all of the experiences that I experienced and really let myself kind of simmer in and ask myself questions of, why did this feel good, or why does this feel so bad, and what about it do I own, and what about it can I control? Because a lot of stuff is out of our control, right? Especially when you're working in a really detailed matrix organization with deep hierarchy and all of that. But early on, I just started on my own and with some peers around me and a couple of people on my team. Started first as an aspiring manager. Well, first I started manager forums, where I just brought managers together to learn from each other, because I thought the fundamentals are missing. Just how do
Mm-hmm.
you treat your people, and how do you
Right,
talk to grow careers?
right.
And we learned a lot from each other in those. And I tried to make an easy lift where we were just in a room together in a community, kind of sharing our best practices. And then I thought to myself, so many people go into management for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And usually in tech companies, if you're a great IC, they'll promote you or move you into manager role, even
Yeah.
if you don't want it and would be terrible at it. And the consequences of that happening are such a ripple effect that I wanted to do something about it. So we created, with two aspiring managers on my team, a formalized aspiring manager forum to really show ICs what the role of the manager was really like, kind
Yeah.
of pull the curtain away,
Mhm.
and then allow people to go through an experience to decide if it really was for them or not, so that they're going into it for the right reasons, not just for promotional velocity or the potential to be able to go and be a, CVP one day. And that's the only path that you can take to get there. And I think all of us have lived the consequences of people going into management for the wrong reason. So I wanted to fix that. And so did that, and then was able to grow. I think I joked with you earlier about the fact that moving into HR from engineering was not easy. Changing disciplines like that was not easy. I didn't have HR background. All I had is what I call as my street smarts, landing these really impactful and shifting the culture in engineering with these people initiatives that I was driving. It was making a difference, and I had data to show that.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I wonder if that's a job, because that's what I really wanted to do. And found global learning and development at Microsoft, and they were doing this manager reimagined initiative. And I thought, oh my God, if I could have written a job description for myself, it was that. Interviewed for a role, didn't get the first time I interviewed, didn't get it, came down to me and one other person who had HR experience, which I get. But I said to myself, and this is where the grit and resilience comes in, because I let myself go back to my office and I cried. I shut my blind. I was like so upset. I'm like, that's my job. That is my job. And so I contacted the CVP in the org, and I said, I understand, why you would choose this other person, but I'm going to show you consistently how I am changing engineering by myself and just shifting the culture to be a culture of more human-centered leadership and awareness of why it's important to be a manager. And I'm going to show you with data how I'm doing that consistently. And I didn't stop. I kept emailing him and saying, look what I've done. This is what I've done. The company could benefit from this. Here's the data. And it was like 4 to 6 months later or so, they offered me a role. Because I joke that I don't know if it was to say, God, let's just bring her in already. She won't leave me alone.
Get her off our backs.
Yeah, but it was like, I'm not going to let this go. Because once you see something that resonates like that with you, you can't unsee it. And so I was like, it's like the light was shining on it.
Right. So, well, and there's a couple things there. I think for one, it's what lit you up, and you knew that was your path. And that knowing, no one can take you away from that knowing, right? Like you said, once you see that, you can't unsee that. So then your purpose becomes how to actualize that.
That's right.
Which is exactly what you've done. And it's so inspiring. The other thing that was just resonating so much when you were talking, and there's so much about your story that I relate to, so much in my own story, but you're absolutely right. It's funny with your desire to be in the FBI and to kind of know like why people's brains and personalities end up going that way. Mine, similarly, in my Wall Street days with awful, awful leadership, those micromanaging bosses that were so insecure. And I was a young, pretty, hardworking female who did pretty well. Right. And so that didn't do well by these leaders. I saw so much bad leadership and realized in my mid-30s, I will never, ever be like that person or those people. And I have zero desire to be that kind of leader. If it means I don't lead people, that's fine. Although I know I love people and I'm really good with them. So how am I going to redefine what leadership actually means? Right. And do so in a way also that feels aligned with who I am in the world, who I am when I go to the coffee shop, when I'm at home, when I'm at work, when I'm with a client or the CEO, doesn't matter. But who authentically am I, and how do I show up and lead from that place of authenticity? That became my mission, like literally my mission. And it's why I do the work that I do. So if we talk about authenticity in the work that you do, we talk about how human-centered approach is at the forefront of manager excellence in the work and the programming that you put together. What does that mean to you? What does both authenticity and human-centeredness mean when it comes to leadership?
It is the most important piece of being a leader and leading others, whether you have direct reports or a group around you of amazing peers. It's how you are showing up for those people around you and within your sphere. It makes all of the difference. And I think, like what you said, I learned what I didn't want to be like, and I learned what I wanted to be like. And I really hung on to those things. Like, what are the traits that really made me feel like I could do anything? Those leaders that helped set me up. And I'll also say something I learned early on is that, having a network is so important around you. A network in all kinds of different disciplines is so important. But the reality is, it's up to you. It's up to you to really realize that, kind of find your purpose and passion. I'll tell you, it was late for me. It was late for me in my career. And I say maybe I'm a slow learner. I don't know. But early on, I just needed a really good job and I
Yeah.
loved the company. Did I feel the purpose and passion around the work? Not always, but this work I do. And once I saw it, I thought, oh my God, I want this for everybody. I used to say there's no way somebody would say, I can't believe I get paid to do this job. Like, I can't believe it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, that's a lie. It's a job. But now when you are really living your purpose and passion each day, you don't even pay attention to the hours that you're working, because you just are so passionate about wanting to make a difference. And that comes from the human side of things and the human perspective of leading with care and genuinely caring about the people around you. And I think once you find what that is, it's just the most meaningful thing. And to be able to help somebody else find that,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's the most rewarding thing as a leader and as a people manager. And it's because you took the time to build the trust and to know them, to
Right.
genuinely know them.
And, I said this in the introduction for you, but, that is when everyone thrives. When people feel cared about, they feel like they belong, they feel like they are part of the purpose, part of the mission. They understand that their contributions matter. I mean, all of that is not by accident, right? It's designed and it's very purposeful for the organization, for the teams, and then for the individuals themselves. And, one of the things that I describe to a lot of my clients and people in workshops that I do is that purpose is about your service to humanity. So your service to humanity could be like you're a mom who stays home and raises her children and you're raising great human beings. It could be that you're a fantastic leader. And like we're talking about, you care about your people and you lead in a very genuine, authentic manner. It could be that you're the person at your, in your community or at school in the PTA or at your local church or whatever it is, that is the one who shows up and really influences people positively by smiling, like whatever it is. Find a way that you serve humanity. And there's so much purpose in that. And then when I talk about meaning is what do you derive from the way that you show up in the world, right? That's where meaning comes from. Because people go, gosh, I haven't found my purpose. Well, are you looking at your job just like it's just a job, just a paycheck, just a means to an end? Or are you looking at it like there's something in this that only I can bring to it, and the way that I show up for the people around me, whether that's customers, colleagues, you name it. But there's a way that I can do that uniquely in my own way.
I love that. I love that so much. And that maps exactly to how I hire for my teams. I talk about each person being an individual. I don't hire people just like me. No way. I don't want a team of me. I want a team of individual, super powered puzzle pieces that together we unlock something that's bigger than we could ever imagine. And you don't need big, huge teams to do really huge, meaningful work that shifts big companies. You can have small and mighty teams if you have the right people that have the right, direction. And of course, you need skills to land business results. But if you do like what you just said, if you're meeting each person where they're at and you're talking to them about, hey, you know what? Did you notice your eyes just lit up right there when you were talking about that bit of work? Or maybe it was a subset of work. And it doesn't even have to be work that is on your team, but something through a conversation and empathetically listening and paying attention to how they're talking about something, you can help them unlock what that purpose is. And you can point it out and say, did you notice that? I've done that several times. And the person's always like, oh my gosh, you're right. And it sends their career sometimes in a completely different direction. That's probably not on your team, but that's okay, because it's what you're doing is for the greater good to unlock that for them and with them, and then help them get wherever they go. To me, that's the best part about leading leading people.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. I mean, unlocking people's potential and seeing them soar is so
Yeah.
rewarding.
Yeah.
So what would you say? I mean, not every person who's in a manager role is meant to be, like you just said. A lot of companies, they do put people in those roles for the wrong reasons. These people are making too much money as an individual contributor, so therefore we need to give them people to manage, right? We need to give them more responsibility. And on paper, it makes a lot of sense. And then in reality, of course, things go haywire. So
Yeah.
what would you see are, well, of course, a lot of the managers you're working with are excellent, but what would you say are some of the blocks that you've seen when when you know someone's in a role and they really shouldn't be? What are some of those blocks that you really see, and how easy or hard is it to help people shift those blocks?
That that's such a great uh, topic to cover because I think I shared already that I they said, "Hey, Steph, you want to be a
Mhm.
manager of this team?" And
Yeah.
and I was like, "Sure." Luckily, I did.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, what happens, I think, is that people assume the role is one thing, and then it's not. And then what happens is they fall back to being focusing on what's comfortable to them.
Yeah.
And so, say as an individual contributor, if I was, a developer, I'll just put that out there,
Mhm.
and then I manage a dev team.
Mhm.
Yes, you still need to be able to understand the role and to speak about the role. And sometimes you have to still code and all of those things. But the reality is, it's the shift from your individual impact to landing impact through your team. And that's hard for some people to connect to because when you've been recognized and rewarded for this one thing for a very long time, it could be a role, it could be jobs, tasks, or skills or capabilities.
Yeah.
It could also be a certain behavior that you've exhibited that's not
Mhm.
great, that
Right.
you've been recognized and rewarded for. That happened a lot early on at Microsoft. We call them old Microsoft old school behaviors of you made a lot of money acting like that, but now that's
Yeah.
not going to work for you anymore. And it's the same in a people leader role. It's not about you as an individual contributor anymore. It's not about you landing the impact and then, oh, by the way, I manage a team as well because your team is just left flailing. It's about how are you lifting the people on your team to drive even bigger impact and results through them,
Yeah.
not just you by yourself. And that's hard for some people to make that shift. And if
Mhm.
you can't, there's nothing wrong with being a really strong individual contributor
Right.
because you have to focus. It's not about you. It's about those people on your team and lifting and growing them now. If
Yeah.
you don't find joy in that, and if you don't find joy in it not being about you and it being about, championing and celebrating those on your team versus you getting all the spotlight, then it's not for you. It's
Right.
not for you. And if you don't feel like you can make that shift, it's okay to stay and be a really impactful individual. IC. So
Right. Yeah. It's better to be a really good IC than it is to be a
yeah,
really bad manager.
it
Absolutely.
is. And,
Yeah.
and bad managers, and I this is where my street smarts I say comes in. I've experienced it. I've
Yeah.
experienced the feeling of not being trusted or empowered or heard or just being made to feel like you aren't worthy, like
Yeah.
you aren't good enough day after day. That takes its toll. Or even worse, not being communicated to, not having one-on-ones, not knowing where you stand. Because maybe
Right.
you're doing a good job, but you just never hear it. People want to
Hmm.
be validated. Like you said earlier, they want to know that the work that they are working on
Hmm.
matters all the way up to the biggest business goal that the company is trying to land. And if you
Right.
as a leader aren't sharing that or showing that or giving them that kind of really strong feedback, positive and encouragement,
Hmm.
uh, and where they can grow, um, it's a trickle down effect because then they feel like they aren't worthy or
Right.
or can't do what they were hired to do, and they second
Right.
guess themselves, and they're not happy with then the team or then
Yeah.
the company, and it affects the company culture.
So
Managers are
true.
directly related to the company culture. And so
Hmm.
that's the work that I'm doing. We did at Microsoft, and I'm so happy to do at ServiceNow. I
Right.
always say we're future proofing the culture with our manager excellence programs and
Yeah.
strategies. It's not just training. You're not just taking manager
Yeah.
training checking the box. That's not it. That's
Right.
not going to work if that's your only approach.
Yeah, so it's not like manager 101,
No.
this is deeper stuff, which brings me to talk about energy and presence. The energy and presence of each and every leader is what makes their microculture. And it's
Yeah.
those microcultures that then bubble up to the culture, which is what does it feel like to work there, right? What
Yeah.
does it feel like to work for this leader? That's the microculture of that team. What does it feel like to work for this company? That's all of those bubbled up together. And that
Absolutely.
comes down to the energy and the presence that each of those leaders brings. And so people have to know, for example, what is it they do to refuel themselves?
Yeah.
When is it that they need to do those activities or choose themselves in order to refuel before they burn out? Because we all know what happens with burnout. Check out, project, erratic
Mm-hmm.
displays of behavior, all the things that are not good in leadership end up happening with burnout, right? So tell me a little bit about just from your own experience in your life, what are some of the rituals or practices that you have that help you stay intentional and stay grounded and centered?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's hard. It's so hard, especially as in a manager and a leader role. It's so hard. And we know through data that managers are burning out at a rate faster than employees just because all of what is on their plate and what is
Yeah.
expected of them.
Mhm.
And that then also causes managers to not focus on the right things, which is their people, because they have all these other, things or tasks that they are expected to deliver on. And it's working from home or working remote. It's really difficult to turn it off. Like there'll be times where I'm like, it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm still here.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I've had to set boundaries for myself to say, nope, after this last meeting, I'm shutting it off and I'm going to go walk away. And if I need to come back later just to
Mhm.
keep things going, that's okay. But that's
Right.
my balance that I'm choosing for myself.
Right.
Um, but it's just, it's to me, I have to be able to laugh
Yeah.
every day. I have to be able to sometimes like not complain, but like commiserate so that I know I'm not alone in this journey of
Yeah.
rapid change and growth,
Right.
and that I'm not going to have all the answers, and that's okay. We're
Yeah.
figuring it out together.
That it's okay to be human.
Yeah.
Well, what I took from what you shared is it's so important. First of all, you know what it is you need to fit in that actually matters to you.
Mhm.
Humor and music and time outside and fresh air. I mean, these are things that might seem so basic, but they're actually not. They're small wins that you incorporate into your daily life that do keep you centered and grounded and keep you going, right? But also keep you aligned. And I think that
Yeah.
that's what happens in leadership in particular is people get so busy because yeah, it is a busy world and it's also a very noisy and chaotic world
Mhm.
and change is so rapid and advanced and none of that's going anywhere anytime soon.
Mhm.
So what people can do most is have rituals and practices that keep them in alignment. And that's different for every person. And by the way, it changes over the course of your life, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
not always the same thing.
Right.
And that's okay. And what you're saying is like just connect with your own humanity, right?
Yes.
Be
That's
real with
exactly.
yourself.
Pet my dog. Like
Yeah.
this morning I went and like nothing makes you happier than, like seeing a fluffy dog or cat or pet or just your kids or like
Yes.
anything that can just
Yes.
distract you
Yeah.
and bring you back to the humanity of it, that it's not all work. It's who we are and how we learn to survive as human beings. I'll tell you
Yeah.
one other thing that I love that I did. We instilled this in during COVID, but I've done it since COVID. Is that every week I have a meeting? Yes, another meeting, but on my calendar with my team where we call it the Manager Excellence Fun Team meeting, and that's all we do. We don't talk about work. We have plenty of meetings for that. We talk about our personal lives, what we're doing. Did you see a great movie lately? What are you watching on Netflix or wherever? What did you have a great meal lately? Just anything other than work
Mhm.
that takes the pressure off of the day. It's the one meeting nobody misses. Everybody loves it, regardless of what you have going on in your day,
Mhm.
and it creates that connection with
I
each
love
other as
that.
human beings. It's fun. We laugh.
Yeah.
We laugh. And
Well,
that's
and
me
you
again.
also, you're learning about each other.
Right,
Like you're
right.
connecting on that human level because there's always going to be work stuff to talk about and to
Right.
get done, but you're connecting on that human level. That
Yeah.
reminds me, there was last year, there was someone I was introduced to. He was a CEO at about a $300 million company. He'd been at the company a long time, but had moved markets. So it's kind of like starting a new company because you're all of a sudden in a new
Yeah.
city and it's all new people. Anyways, his direct reports, he was saying to me, I think I want someone to come in and group coach my direct reports. They all seem to understand the initiatives that they each have. I've been talking to them about these initiatives for several months, but people aren't really making any moves. They're not, there's no progress being made on these initiatives. These are people who've been in their executive roles a long time. They can do their jobs in their sleep. They have been in leadership for a while. And you want them to give you discretionary effort on these new initiatives that you've come in the last 5 months and told them are now on their plate. And
Hmm.
you don't really know them that well.
Right.
And he's like, well, yeah, but this is their job. They should just do it. And I said, well, tell me the name of one of their kids out of your 5 direct reports. What is just one of their kids' names? He couldn't say a single one. 5 months.
Mm-mm.
And there you go, right there. Lack of
Yeah.
care,
Yeah.
lack of intention,
Right.
lack of human connection, and genuineness, right? Like, I mean, genuinely, you don't give a crap about your people. Are you kidding me? You want them to do a
Yeah.
great job for you.
No,
No, it's
no.
not going to happen.
Yeah. And just knowing the families or, like asking how was your weekend before you go into a one-on-one or like, how's your day? How are you doing? How is your,
Right.
like, how is your load right now? I just want to make sure I'm checking in on you personally first before we get on anything else.
Yeah.
It takes a second. And I'm a better person. I'm a better leader because I know these things about the people that I work with. And to me, when somebody jokes and says, "Oh, you're my boss or you're my manager," I'm like, we're all in this together. Like,
Right.
I hate hierarchy, but I know I just have different responsibilities than you do, but
Hmm.
we are all trying to solve a lot of this together and move the business forward and figure it out. Because
Right.
not all the leaders, like I said before, have the answers, and I certainly don't, but
Yeah.
I have ideas and let's talk about them. And yeah, taking that time it gives you, I think, the grace to make mistakes with your team,
Hmm.
and they don't, like, you're not a complete failure and you can do it. And then it also models the way that when you make mistakes, it's okay for them to stumble
So
a little bit
true.
in what you do after it. It's okay.
Hmm.
We're learning together. And it creates a foundation of trust. And trust to me is the be all end all. You
Right.
can't just come in and expect, like, this exec you were talking about, them to trust you and they're just going to do their job.
Right.
There's got to be some sort of trust and purpose behind
Yeah.
that for them to
Absolutely.
want to show up every day for you.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. It's just so true. What would you say? I'm sure it's changed over time in your career, but how do you define success for yourself now? And how is that different than it used to be?
Yeah. Um, Early on in my career, it was about moving up the ladder. It
Hmm.
was about status. It was about title. It was about, how much can you make and how much stock can you get, and all
Yeah.
of that. And I think that just went along with the environment that I was in, because
Hmm.
that was, in an engineering company that was very successful and very large. That's kind of the push. And you were expected to move
Hmm.
every handful of years. You
Yeah.
couldn't, it wasn't really seen as being a success if you stayed in a certain role a certain length of time. Even if you were the SME and the only expert in the company on that topic, you were still expected to move and grow, which I get. Like, I did that, and thank God I did. Like, I have had, so, like I said, the zigzag pattern, so many different experiences for being a software tester, managing dev and testing, managing other kinds of engineering teams, managing technical content creation teams, managing the global technical certification team, being an IC and then a manager, and then back to an IC and then a manager again. And
Right.
all of those things you learn from as you grow. But it was expected that you move. And so I was always thinking, okay, those are the things that matter:
Hmm.
title, status,
Yeah.
all of that. And
Hmm.
it shifted for me. And maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm older, I'm more experienced in my career. I've been doing this a really long time.
Hmm.
But I'm telling you, the minute I figured out what I want to do and what I was meant to do, and that spark and that aha, I'm like, oh my God, that's it. Everything shifted. I don't care about the titles at all. Yes, I want to be validated. Yes, I want to be recognized and rewarded and empowered and respected and trusted and all of those things.
Yeah.
But but that's the part that's most important to me, is that I'm making a difference. If I see something that's being unfair or somebody being treated unfairly, I physically can't not say anything or step in. I have to act. And that's me trying to make a positive influence in somebody else's life. And right now in this world and in the United States, we need it more than ever, is kindness and care and going back to just being good human beings. And so that to me is what success is. And that's how I'm trying to raise my kids too, to be good human beings.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you've brought a mindful, positive difference to this podcast today. So,
thank you.
Everyone who listens will get the benefit of that. And I'm so appreciative of that. So, Steph, tell me, if you could leave my listeners with one truth about energy or time or intention or leadership, what would that one truth be?
The truth is that it's not easy. And I'm sure most people living this role know that. It is not easy. You're challenged every day with new things, and you plan your day one way, and first meeting in, it can go directly like T-bone in the intersection and go the other way.
Yeah.
It's stressful. It's amazing. But I think the main thing is that you're not alone. You're not going to have all the answers. Show yourself grace every single day. I don't care if you're the CEO. I don't care if you're a frontline manager, new to role. Show yourself grace every day in what you know, and just ground yourself in being a good person. The truth is, it's really, really hard, and you aren't expected to know everything, especially now as we move into leading in the era of AI. It's different, and it's going to constantly change.
Right.
But oh, how much fun to figure it out. Oh, how much fun to have everybody around you, and that you don't have the answers, but you get to figure it out with all these amazing people around you.
Yeah. And you get to grow through that together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. So great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Now, if people want to follow you, where can they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Stefani Okamoto. It's spelled differently. You can see how it's spelled.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. That's the best way to find me. And send me a note. I answer I'm not out there every single day, but everything I post is on this topic. And I try and share and to lift others and my peers around me who are struggling with the same things that I am every day, and just regrounding and what matters, and some tips and tricks and other podcasts and things that I've done. But that's the best way to find me. And if you want to drop me a note, I'll answer you, and I'd love to connect.
And everyone, definitely do that. That's how Craig found Stefani, because he was on LinkedIn and he said, gosh, the things that this woman talks about are the things that you love and you care about. And you two are kindred spirits. You have to connect. So here we are months later after our initial conversation on Zoom, which I just loved. And so definitely go find her, follow along, send her a note. You will not regret it. Steph, thank you so much for being on this show. It was definitely a light of my week, and I am so glad that I was able to have you on the show.
Me too. And I'm telling you, listeners, Erin and I connected, and it was immediate. Like, we will be BFFs on this and other things forever and ever. And I'll come back and talk with you and meet with you anytime. I think you are a gift, Erin, and we're so lucky you're here doing what you do.
Oh, thank you. So appreciate that. Everyone, you know what to do. Please like and share and subscribe. Definitely send this along to your family, your colleagues, your friends, and get the word out, because more people need these messages.
Thank you so much.